Bobby was hoping would be a statement game.
Oh, it was a statement game, all right.
It was a statement game.
Not the statement you want to make, but it was a statement.
It was the wrong statement. It was the classic better team versus not as good team that hung around until the game mattered, and then they put them away like it was never in doubt. Right. And this game, of course, everybody knows is without. Well, to be fair, Nets are without Kevin Durant, but the Celtics were without Romeo. But I mean, true. Celtics had a full lineup here tonight, and they came up short, and they looked like they were clearly a lesser team than an undermanned Brooklyn team. So I don't know. You guys open it up with thoughts. We'll get into some of the late stuff, which pissed me off as well. But just thoughts on the game.
Yeah, it was all about Kyrie Irving. Yeah, that was the crux of this whole second half.
Sure.
Yeah,
but if it wasn't Kyrie, it could have been Harden. It could have been Durant. I mean, they've got great players.
Could have been Shamit.
Somebody's going to play great. Yeah.
Yeah, but Kyrie has those stretches still, even at this point in his career, where he is unstoppable. And he goes on these flamethrower stretches where it's like 5-6 straight possessions that completely swing a game away from the other team. And you saw the Celtics try about 4 or 5 different scheming adjustments to get into him on those. I thought Marcus Smart did a better job on some of those possessions than Jaylen Brown did. But it overwhelmed them. Transition run-ups, the threes off those, every single thing you put up went in.
Well, they couldn't figure anything out. You said it, Bobby. Yeah. They whatever they tried on. I mean, if you had Smart for 35 minutes a game, maybe you can affect the outcome a little bit better there. But he's on a minutes restriction. He looked good coming back. He had a couple really good defensive possessions on Kyrie late. He got bailed out by that horrible.
I thought he was awesome
Tatum
tonight. Yeah,
but he was awesome. We'll get into that though. But Kyrie, everything they did was wrong. I mean, it just didn't matter. You said it. They would try to double him. His handle's just too freaking good. He's going to dribble out of that double team. They found open shooters all night. I mean, open three after open three after open.
He has almost 100 points in the last 2 games against Boston.
Yeah.
He steps it up when he plays the Celtics.
So someday we'll find out why Kyrie Irving just hated his time in Boston so much, where he just couldn't be that player that. I mean, the Kyrie Irving that you're seeing in Brooklyn is the Kyrie Irving everybody thought Boston was getting and going to have for years to come. We don't need to relive it. Somewhere in an alternate universe, Kyrie Irving is having an unreal career in Boston, and like everything's playing out the way Danny Ainge envisioned it. For whatever reason, it didn't happen, and now he's just going to haunt the Celtics every time they play each other.
He's going to destroy them every time.
to the end of his career. Maybe he'll have an off game in Boston someday if the fans are ever allowed to watch him play. Again, in person. I'm not sure if that day will come, but if it happens, maybe they throw him off his game a bit. But until then, he's just going to be Kyrie Irving and just go out for 30 to 50 points per game and beat the Celtics. So that's kind of what you saw tonight. I thought there were some good things tonight and plenty of bad things. I mean, we're going to get into all of it. I thought the bigs as a whole looked okay. I thought Thompson was, I thought he played great
to start, but then they went away from him.
He tailed off. But and then I thought Rob kind of came on strong towards the end. So, I mean, it was kind of like, tag team there. Tice, missed a huge 3. That's the only thing I'm going to remember about him in this game.
He never
Jaylen
makes
Brown,
them when you need him.
Speaking of missed 3s, Jaylen Brown looked horrific pretty much from start to finish tonight. Jason Tatum started off slow, but I mean, he hits the big shots. But then again, it's the decision making, it's the turnovers late in the game. Huge costly turnover there that led to, I think it was the Kyrie Irving 3-pointer on the ensuing possession, kind of put the nail in the coffin there. So, I mean, you can go 100 different ways with this game on why the Celtics lost it. Ultimately, they're not as talented as the Nets. And we said this before the All-Star break. Why even make a trade at the deadline? Because whatever you do isn't going to be good enough. And Danny Ainge essentially said that today anyways.
That's true.
I thought go ahead, Josue.
Well, no, I'm sure. I was just gonna say, I'm sure we'll get into that. But going back to the game here, Marcus Smart on the minutes restriction was a big part of it. You really missed him. This was one of those games where you see Marcus play the whole fourth quarter, right? If everything was normal, I think that would have been the case tonight. But again, what's the deal with the Celtics and their lack of perimeter defense? I mean, look, I get it. Whenever a top 3-point shooting team comes to town, or whenever they go over there, which Brooklyn is, right? I believe the 3rd in the league in 3-pointers. it's just the same old story where you take away a couple of those threes and you're right back in it. This time, Shamit had a career night. Joe Harris
he was the one tonight
in that fourth quarter. And then, yeah, obviously Kyrie is the one that carried everything. But I mean, down the stretch, this team, the Celtics had a chance to put it to really grab that lead again. And it was, again, the lack of perimeter defense, 3-pointers going in, collapsing on defense, bad fouls. Robert Williams comes up with a huge block, and the Celtics just don't capitalize. If Kemba Walker makes that three, it would have been a different story. Yeah, sure. Jaylen Brown makes a huge three down the stretch. But look, the defense giving up these threes, like, they have to figure this thing out. I mean, that's what, yeah, Kyrie's a big part of this, and he carried this game for this Nets team. But the three-point shooting went a long way for Brooklyn.
Well, let's go over real quick that late game execution there, okay? Because with Tatum comes in and he catches fire there. After the Nets stretched it to 10, Celtics went on an 8-0 run, get it to 108-106, 4:17 left in the game. Tatum makes that tough shot there. He scores 5 straight. Oh, no, that wasn't 5 straight. But he Right, he makes that shot. So then it's that possession where Smart is checked in at this point, plays terrific defense on Kyrie, keeps in front of him. Kyrie put every shake and bake, everything he had on him, and Smart's in front of him the whole time. Shot clock's at 4, and Kyrie's going nowhere. And for friggin' no reason at all, Tatum reaches in and bails out. It's a possession foul. They reset the clock. Harden goes in for that floating layup, and they're up 4. Then there's the Daniel Tice 3, which every time he gets an open 3 in a crucial situation late
Except
in the game,
the Pacers game,
he never makes the ones you need. Okay, so he misses that, and then Kyrie makes a 3, and bang, up 7 again. Jalen makes that moonshot prayer, hunting for 3 free throws, 3, and he was foul hunting all friggin' night. Gets it back to 4, and then Tatum turns it over again. Okay, brutal, lazy turnover there. And Kyrie another 3, and they're up 7 again. And then later on in the game, Jalen, again, I don't know what happened to him. He forgot how to dribble. He loses it out of bounds on that one that was reviewed. Just terrible late game execution from your stars there where you need it most. It's very, very frustrating to see that. I mean, again, you never want to just say it's only about the last few plays of the game. But look, you were there in a position to compete in that game, and your best players just from the 4-minute mark and on just mucked it. It was really hard to watch.
Yeah, yes, and the one player that I didn't mention is Kemba Walker. You need to get more out of him. He was kind of invisible after the first quarter.
That first,
yeah.
Like, you just need more, especially when a guy like Jaylen Brown's struggling. You need to get that offense from somewhere. Marcus Smart returned, great. He looks healthy and he's doing his Marcus Smart things, but he's not going to give you 20 points, or you certainly can't expect it. You need that 20-plus points from Kemba Walker if you want to win these games. So, again, the Celtics are at a point where they need a lot of things to go right for them if they want to win games. If you're a team like the Nets, you can almost afford to have a guy miss a game like Kevin Durant did because you have all that talent. And you have that bench depth that came in tonight. They didn't even have Blake Griffin yet either. He didn't play either. I'm not saying that he's going to be the huge difference maker, but he's another warm body, another guy that can give you solid minutes and be a force in some way. So, I mean, they've got the depth and the star power, and the Celtics right now are lacking.
And a lot of commenters are saying this. I'm not blaming Tatum. We just hold him to a much higher standard. He saved them. Without him tonight, everybody else was dog shit. He's the only guy who you can count on for anything. It's just frustrating late in the game to have these meltdowns that when you need it most. You can't have that as the best player and as a superstar and the guy carrying. You just can't have it. Okay.
Yeah.
We're not blaming the loss on Tatum. Jalen was terrible, and he looked awful. And I don't know what happened to Kemba. I was like framing up the apology cam in the first few minutes of the game. I was like, I'm gonna eat it.
Oh, he was everywhere.
He was.
I actually thought about it
on defense.
Oh, he made that great block on defense. The backdoor layup there.
Sounds,
and threes off the screen with a quick release. I was like, oh God, Kemba's gonna go for 35 tonight, and all night long I'm just gonna be people just asking me to apologize. And I was like, I'm gonna do it. And then he disappeared. What happened?
I don't know. Yeah. Very strange. I mean, they even highlighted him at halftime on TNT. They were just talking about he looks like he's back. He only needs that little inch of space to get a shot up. He can stop on a dime.
Right, an inch. That was exactly it.
Yeah. And then just like nothing. And they even came out strong in the second half out of the gates. And
There was one play where he was on the ball that I really didn't like. When Kyrie Irving was on him, they got a switch, Thompson in the post. And they do this a lot where they get those switches and they're either spotting up on it. I think it was Joe Harris on him who just stayed connected. And it ended up being a bad three-point look from Kemba. He finished this 0 for 6 from 3. The offense as a whole, I know Josue had issues with the defense. And, of course, the story of the season is issues on both ends of the floor routinely throughout these games. Offense, to me, second half, shot selection, the inability to get to the basket against a small team, a team that doesn't have much inside punch on the defensive end of the floor. Thompson has Kyrie Irving on him in the lane, or at least has handed off to James Harden, who's kind of in between those two guys. Tatum's on the far side for a skip pass that Smart could probably make, but Kemba probably can't. And Kemba just kind of leaned back into a deep three, and you saw that throughout the second half. Brown leaning from deep. Tatum. A lot of his work, it was great, but it was fadeaways, pull-ups, that kind of stuff. They didn't have much downhill activity. Their downhill activity was Jeff Teague. Daniel Tyson, Rob caught a few passes at the basket and dunked them home. And Smart got in there a little bit.
And now that Jalen can't get to the bucket anymore, whether it's his knee or who the hell knows what, he turned back into a pumpkin.
Did he go to the bucket once all game?
Nothing. I mean, he tried, but he was foul hunting all game. He was blowing by guys like they were standing still early part of the year. He's not going by anybody anymore. You should be able to be how many guys, how many times do you have someone like a Harris on him on the perimeter? He should be able to just walk by those guys. Really frustrating.
I mean, speaking of, how about Harden blowing by Tatum? Not to throw
Tough
more
matchup.
Heat on Tatum, but wow, did he just hypnotize him and just blew right by him there?
That's what he does.
That was unreal. Welcome to
Harden
the
had a
league.
quiet 22. I thought they did okay on Harden overall.
Well, those 6 turnovers made it look, especially in the first half, he just couldn't.
7.
7 in the first half, right? Yeah, 7 turnovers in the first half, and all of a sudden, Kyrie gets going. But look, I think going back to Kemba, I just think Kemba was trying so hard to get everyone else going. Like, hey, I'm contagious. I want everyone else to get going. That's because they know that they're.
It's a weird game. Weird game.
Josue almost got it out.
We keep talking about Brown and Kemba kind of running into each other. Yeah,
we did. I hope so, unless something worse.
I'm leaving him here like this. I'm going ISO cam on this.
Yeah, you can't even blow it up. That's how far off it is.
Brockton Wi-Fi cam.
There it is. Brockton cam.
That should be his Twitter avatar. That should be it. That sums it up right there.
He's not going to do it, but he should. We've talked a lot about Brown and Kemba running into each other, but they both had bad games here.
I'll put them out.
They were both on the ball a little bit, and they both weren't able to get anything going. So I think, again, you guys tell me how you feel about this, because I think it could go 1 of 2 games. They both either just had really bad games, and this offensive approach tonight was a disaster. I feel like both could have been true.
For who are we talking about in this case? Brown?
Brown and Kemba, yeah.
Like I said,
What's
Brown at this point, you have to wonder if it's.
We haven't seen them both struggle together in the same game.
Jimmy, did you say you thought he was favoring his knee?
Like White's playing, but there was a loose ball with him Harden where he stayed down for a little bit, and it looked like he was grimacing a bit, and I assumed that it was about the knee. He stayed in the game and he did the jump ball, or he didn't do the jump ball. He stayed in the game. He may have done the jump ball. I forget. Yeah. So I don't know how serious it was, but it was just another. It just looked like, it looked like something that was there. That's what I'll say about that.
I feel like it was just a really physical game, but it didn't seem as obvious, right? Because remember, Jason Tatum.
Did you see Kemba go to the rim and bump Tatum into the 5th row? Yeah, it got physical.
Yeah, I mean, those plays, they were obvious, but there were some plays that it seemed like you couldn't see, with the naked eye, and then you see a grimace, or you see, Tice went down completely because he looked like he took a rip shot from Harden when he was driving to the rim. So yeah, I think he had some of that going, but I don't think it was something that was lingering all night. Do you think that?
No, I'm not saying.
No, he just looks less explosive.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, exactly.
But also, he forgot to dribble again. It's it's the same thing. It's people are now. I don't know if also people just it's a playbook. People are sitting on his right hand, and he just keeps going right into traffic, and he's getting nowhere.
Yeah, there was one play in the second quarter where he completely lost control of the ball inside, and then fell back into a leaning jumper. He was just completely off balance, it felt like.
Yeah.
And maybe that does come back to health a little bit, or the inability to get some of those 2-point shots to go that we've talked about. But he is definitely, over the last month or so, slipped off that path that he was on early in the season.
He told us that he's hurt. He literally said, like, I would have done the dunk contest if I was healthy enough to do it.
Yeah,
like,
I gotta listen to
you
my.
don't think
yeah.
You don't think Jaylen Brown would have loved to have done the dunk contest in his hometown and just absolutely? By the way, he would have won. I mean, I don't even know who the hell was in the dunk contest. So
yeah, that dunk contest
he
needed Jaylen. Yeah,
he's obviously hurting. So of course he looks like he might be a step or two behind and not explosive and not, driving up and going up to the rim. He probably couldn't throw down like Jeff Green tried to throw down on Daniel Tyson. I don't think he could do that right now.
That dunk contest, the dunk contest was bad. The story was Cassius Stanley got robbed.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't great when we didn't even talk about it on Monday, did we?
I didn't even feel like it.
No. It was honestly a bad halftime show. I'd rather watch Red Panda. Put Red Panda out there.
Oh,
well,
man.
Simons deserved to win, but the only take I heard out of it was Stanley got robbed. And I feel like
I'm all Red Panda
85% of people didn't know who Stanley was.
Man.
I forgot all their names.
I never knew their names.
Never.
So it was Simons, it was Stanley. Who was the third one, John?
Toppin.
Look, if this happened last year, I don't think it would
Toppin,
be as bad. But after last year's dunk contest, how great it was, it was just this was bound to flop. There was no way they were gonna live up to it.
And that was talking.
Jaylen need to be out there.
Okay,
Exactly.
Jaylen would have brought out Tatum. They would have
back.
done some alley-oops.
Right.
Zion should have been out there.
Not healthy
All right, we're not doing the dunk contest.
No, we're not.
Who do you want to see in the dunk contest next year, John? Who do you want to see in the dunk
Like I said, the dunk contest is the easiest thing in the world to fix. Make the prize money $5 million with real sponsors, and then see who comes out for it. Seriously,
Stanley will be pushing again and again.
It's that easy. Money talks here. Okay.
I mean, you might get young guys because you'll be offering like what was the amount again?
Doesn't
they gotta
matter.
fix the judges too.
That's like more. That's more than their first year salary for some.
You put real money on that.
Yeah,
LeBron's gonna freaking start. Pumping up his. He's. Everyone's coming for it.
You could save someone from going to play overseas with that money. This is a big deal.
I have another fix. I have a way to fix the skills competition. Completely remove it. I never want to see it again. Yeah, I never want to see the skills competition again, where guys are literally just dribbling down the court for a layup or a freaking chest pass, a layup, and a 3-pointer. Give me a freaking break. I can do that. Put me in.
Yeah. All right. Come on. We can't do this.
So the 3-point shootout, though, John. What happened in the 3-point
skills
shootout?
competition has to go.
We can't do this.
How do you guys feel about
this? Was the president? But how about this though? This is a bit of a reality check, and it's again, I don't like to make judgments off of one game, but we've seen Celtics against Brooklyn a couple times now. Again, I think it's, as Jimmy said, it's pretty clear they're a full level below, maybe 2 tiers below Brooklyn, right? As currently constituted, this team. Yeah. Like I couldn't see them winning one game if they played an 11-game series. Like I don't. This is not close. I mean, not only with their big three, but I mean their benches. I mean, this game was lost by the benches. Brooklyn's deeper. I mean, great. They're not terrific at defense. I don't think it's ever going to really matter. They're so much
score you.
It didn't matter tonight, and I thought they were awful defensively tonight.
Awful. They're so much better than every team. I mean, the Celtics can. And Celtics aren't playing great defense either. I don't think the Celtics can be competitive with these guys. So I don't want to break into TPE talk and Harrison. We'll get into Harrison Barnes and this and that, whether it fixes it. But again, it's. This is where we're at right now is like, this is what you're chasing. And sure, injuries happen and you never know what's going to happen second half of the season. And again, KD's with a hamstring right now. Kyrie hasn't made it through a full season in a while. You don't really know. Harden still looks like he's out of shape. They could break down late. So again, there could be an opening there, but I mean, they're clearly a level head and shoulders above the Celtics right now. And I don't know that Harrison Barnes fixes it.
Well, yeah,
Right.
I mean,
And I don't think
if you're the Celtics, you're trying to lean on to become the stronger team mentally, because obviously you're looking at a group of guys that they hadn't played with each other since ever until this season. So you have that working for you, but also Marcus Smart's a big part of this. I think Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum. I really do think there's another gear, as a cohesive unit. I think that there's another gear for those two guys to reach, and I think we're going to see that happen. But they still need help, right?
Yeah, second gear.
This can't be a team that carries, that relies on that, right? Let's say hypothetically they combine for 60 points, from here on out. Is that guaranteed win for the Celtics? I mean, they were almost 500 at the All-Star break, and these guys are putting up 26 apiece. So, obviously, that's not always the recipe for success, but you're gonna have to get way more out of the rest of the team. And I'm not saying that it's going to be a hard thing to do. It's just a matter of, can you do it quickly, or can you put it together? Because we talked about before the All-Star break, that soft spot of the regular season is gone. So now you're in the mix of it. But at least right now, after the Nets, it eases up a little bit. You're not facing a top 4 team or a top 4 team in the East or in the
We've
West.
seen that doesn't matter.
But exactly, that doesn't always matter, because these Celtics team, like we like to say, they'll play down to the competition, they'll play up to the competition. They're one of those teams.
I didn't think the gap was massive tonight, but KD's not out there. I mean, this could have ballooned to 28 again.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. It's like the best player on Brooklyn didn't play.
The Celtics had all their best players. All their best players were there. Yeah.
The best one.
Right. And if you're the Celtics, you can't really bank on some of the pie in the sky situations that John mentions, Harden looks like he might still be out of shape. And the guy's leading the NBA in assists. Is he really out of shape, or is that just how he is? That's just Harden. I think he's fine. Before the trade happened, we're oh, it's not going to work. There's only one ball. All the stuff that everyone fools himself into thinking when a team's thinking about adding a all-star MVP type player to a team that's already good. We all try to think about all the reasons why it won't work. It's going to work. It's working, and there's really no reason to believe it will just stop working. Something catastrophic would have to happen. They're only getting deeper as the season goes on. Guys are jumping on board. They'll probably get another guy in the buyout season, if they even need one. I mean, they're already
still in there, probably.
Drummond's still in there. I mean, hell, Marcus Aldridge, who the hell knows? I mean, honestly, you can't rule anything out. So again, I think it's going to be really freaking hard to compete with the Nets. And Josue, you want to talk about, the schedule eases up. That's fine and dandy. But once the playoffs come around, the schedule is not getting any easier. You're going to have to play a team like the Nets at some point. You're going to have to play the Sixers at some point. And if this is the type of a performance that you're going to be giving on more nights than not, the odds are you're not going to probably be able to hang too long in a 7-game series. And that's just the way it is, Harrison Barnes or not.
The Celtics aren't even close talent-wise. And I know, John, you say they can't close the gap enough for it to matter, but you do want to try to close that gap a little bit. It's so wide right now that you can bring yourself closer and maybe give yourself a chance to win a couple of games in this, because right now it does look like a sweep. It really does.
I don't think that. See, that's the thing. When I talk about mental toughness, I just think the Celtics team.
Mental toughness. What is mentally tough about the Celtics?
The ball
ever?
They'll never. When have they been swept, Jimmy? When have they ever lost
the
in
bubble
5?
last year.
They go to 6 or they go to 7. They go to the max.
2019.
The Celtics, especially Brad Stevens, I give him credit with that. If he has to play a team, best of 7, he will dissect them. He will figure things out. Or at least
Milwaukee.
To succeed.
Milwaukee 2 years ago, if they don't play a perfect game 1, they get swept.
Nothing about the Celtics team over the last.
They played a perfect game 1.
About last season though, last season, there was, there were times in that series where the Heat could have easily ran away with it, but they didn't. They never did.
That's a good point. Yeah. And that's
but the talent was equal.
They had to call a team meeting in the middle of the series.
The talent was equal even without Hayward. The talent disparity here is enormous.
Yeah, but talk about the characters though. I don't know. Again, I'm not quite sure.
Josue on Brooklyn, you have
they're still
NBA
head and heel above the Celtics. Don't get me wrong, but I mean,
you have NBA champions on Brooklyn in Durant and in Kyrie. I mean,
okay, Kyrie. Right. Sorry.
Again, if we look at this game for 3.5 quarters, the Celtics did hang in there. And then Kyrie just did things that Brad couldn't have fixed, Smart didn't fix, anybody. Like Michael Jordan couldn't have went out there and stood in front of him on some of those possessions. It was.
Well, let me ask you
like
guys.
That's where talent just trumps all.
All right, talent aside here, I know there's a lot of heat. Again, it's the Fire Brad guys are out again today.
Oh Lord.
Whatever. Somebody explained to me.
Are they out there really still?
So
every loss they're gonna be.
The one beef we had was, and I said it on the chain. Brad's gonna sit here. Brad's gonna sit with these guys too long at the start of the fourth, and the game's gonna get away, and it almost did. And it got to 10 points. It turns out Tatum might have been like working through something, and that's why he didn't come in. I don't know. It felt like he was waiting till that 7-minute mark to get those guys back in. He wanted to get that bench rotation through the first 4 or 5 minutes before he brought them back.
Which Jimmy pointed out Smart came in about a minute or two late.
A minute or two late for sure. And again, I know he's on that minutes restriction, but he really should have been in there a little earlier too. He came in about the 5-minute mark. But what happened tonight? I'm confused again. Like Grant Williams plays now, Semi doesn't. Neesmith is in witness protection right now. I mean, he's gone. Teague is a thing again. Rob just gets his 2 little stints and that's it. And we're just kind of right back to it now with this really unimpressive bench. And I mean, what are you doing out there with Grant and with Teague? When the game's starting to get away with you, it's just, I don't know. I mean, you don't have tons of options, but this is where they are now. This is what they do. Like these are the guys.
Enjoy it, guys. If they don't do anything, this is the rest of the year. You tighten it up eventually. You do.
He's just throwing darts.
Playoff time, it won't look like this. You'll be taking 40, Brown.
But what
40,
was Grant
Smart
in there for?
Limitations, Kemba's not pushing 40, Smart's at 22, so you divvy those up between your Teague, your Grant, and Pritchard got a little bit tonight, but he wasn't that good. Man, this is a bad matchup for Pritchard. But when you're limited, it's just going to sprinkle out around a lot of, as you say, unimpressive bench guys. That Williams combo was so good against the Raptors. But going into that game, it was minus 20. It was minus 24 for the year, and it went right back to that tonight.
It was the Raptors.
I'm surprised you guys hadn't screamed for more. I'm surprised you guys hadn't screamed for more Rob yet tonight. I know some people in the comments are, but I didn't think he was that good
at this point.
I know, but here's my thing with Rob, because it doesn't get into it. But when you say, your opinion, Bobby, is that Rob plays with the right group against the bench, and that's why he's effective. And mine is, I want to see him roll with the starters to open up the offense a little bit. That's kind of what I want to see more of. He was relegated to basically dead second unit minutes tonight up until the very end, and it's just, I just don't think you're maximizing what he's able to bring out there. I know like Smart immediately when they got on the floor together tried to throw him a lob, but that was about it. They didn't do anything. They didn't run any of those. They didn't run a lot of pick and rolls. He never got the ball in an okay position. He caught the ball high a lot. He's not good at that dribble drive handoff sort of situation. So every time he gets the ball up there, all he's going to do is turn it around and give it to somebody else. One time, I think he tried to put it on the floor. It didn't really work. But, you want to see him out there running with the starters, and he never really is. So you get what you get with him, and that's what you got. Uninvolved in the offense, but he friggin' blocked 6 shots. He's still making it.
That's true.
He still had
his defense late was good.
4
rebounds, 5 assists,
and 6 blocks or something. I mean,
what you
blocked Kyrie after that whole stretch.
What you want in the first quarter, I wanted to see that throughout most of the fourth, because I thought that was the time for the Celtics to really create some space, or at least try to grab a significant lead. And I couldn't fault Brad for making that decision or making the decision that he made, because Daniel Tice was killing it. And I thought Robert Williams in some spots when he first came in, he looked a little lost. He was out of place in some moments.
Did he do it again? Are any of you guys going to talk?
What just happened?
I thought we were watching the world end. I was like, what's gonna happen at the end of this countdown?
I feel really bad for everybody watching, expecting to.
What just happened?
I think John.
Was John trying to mute? I thought he was trying to mute me.
There's literally a countdown to John just being like, I'm out of here. He just needed like 20 seconds to peace out.
That's what I thought he was gonna do.
He needed a moment, and the moment was 30 seconds.
I thought he got mad at me for going in about Rob.
Everybody watching thinking that we were doing a countdown to something amazing, and it was just John's off the show now, which actually is pretty amazing when you think about it. I don't know what he just hit a button and just self-destructed.
No, this is what happened. This is when I had the Joe Sway show. I'm on the other end of that. Yeah. What happened. So since he's out,
John, what did you just do?
I don't know. What happened?
It was like
what happened was
New Year's, I guess. I thought the New Year's coming in.
To like
it was like a New Year's countdown.
We came back and you were gone.
I did nothing.
No, you.
I thought you put me in timeout for talking about.
No, you froze on my screen. Then
I think John just passed out and hit a button.
No, you froze on my screen, and then it just literally just went haywire for me. So I was like, I'm out, and I left.
We just had like a New Year's Eve countdown, and then it showed up. Yeah. It's just us three. And
I could see you guys laughing, and I was like, I have no control over what's happening right now.
It was like
I see a bunch of people commenting WTF.
It was like a game of it was like a murder mystery. The lights went out and somebody the lights came back on and somebody was dead on the ground.
That's what I said, yeah. Well, there goes Rob's segment.
Yeah, I should have did that. I should have laid back here like
Wait, for real, what happened?
Literally what we just said.
The screen just got taken over by a 30-second countdown.
What did you guys do?
They went big screen to a countdown, and then when the big screen when the countdown ended, it just went to us three, and you weren't in there.
we like faded in, like we're gonna.
You'll be able to watch it back. You'll be able to watch it back. Anyways, Joe Sway, were you talking?
I was talking about what John wants to see in the first quarter with Rob and the starters. I want to see that throughout the fourth. You know,
the rotations
it's a tough spot. If Tice is going off, that's a tough spot. You know, Tice played a heck of a game tonight. I give him.
So in the first half alone, they went from double big to start the game, and they had a pretty solid lead out of the first three. You know, when Kemba was going up, the first 3-4 minutes, they were in a great place. They went to the Williams after that, didn't work all that well. And then to close the half, they went all wings. They went with that, Tice and the starters lineup that ideally this team eventually wants to start and roll with in crunch time. But we've only seen it tonight, and we've only seen it against the Spurs. And that's the only evidence we have, and it hasn't worked so well so far.
Why the hell would we get a Smart apology?
Yeah, what'd you say about Smart, John?
I have no idea.
What did you do to Marcus?
It was like one night he must have went off.
I'm critical. I'm just critical, I guess.
No, Marcus was not the
great.
problem or the solution tonight. He was just doing like he extended a couple plays and extended a couple gave Celtics some second chances.
I liked Smart a lot tonight.
I thought he was.
He looked light. He looked quick.
Yeah, I think you said I looked like he lost a couple pounds, maybe.
I thought he looked lean. I thought he looked fast. I thought his lateral quickness was great. I thought he looked. He does this sometimes. He comes into a lot of seasons a little rounder. He plays his way into shape. He's had a couple of times where he didn't really get into shape until the middle of the season. It's happened a couple of times. We always look at him at the preseason. We're like, Marcus look like he's a little chunky right now.
Yeah.
He looked
even
good.
Media day sometimes. Sometimes the media day when he's they're in the uniform.
Yeah,
like,
that's not great.
Yeah. Remember that year? Years ago, they had him like eating dates and like all this healthy stuff, and like he was talking about it because that was the one time
in the parking lot.
No one said, yeah.
We're like, should we do a segment on Smart being fat? Because Smart was really fat.
So here's about Smart. He's not gonna be, but there's almost a case that he should be on the ball all the time. The things he does on it just opens everything up. Even down the stretch, that skip pass to Brown from the post, where he got on the ball, off the ball, got in the post again, and then threw the pass to Brown right before the Tatum turnover we hit on. That got them back in the game. And so whether it was him getting to the rim, him hitting shots off the ball. It was just an amazing performance. I wasn't expecting all of this. Getting to the free throw line, as you see there. Yeah, like this guy, he's gonna be the one who saves the team, makes or breaks it. And we go crazy about him in the shot selection sometimes. I think there was one bad one in this game, but this was awesome. Exactly what they needed. If he played 30 minutes tonight, 35 minutes like he's capable of, I think you're looking at a much different game, at least with KD out on the other side.
No, start to finish in his minutes, he consistently played the best minutes on the team tonight in his first game.
He's the best ball handler by far, best decision maker, best passer.
You know what else too?
Yeah,
John?
he was good. He looked like Marcus Smart.
Yeah, but to talk about
the best version of him.
What John was saying about him having the extra pep in the step and extra energy. I've noticed this about Marcus. When he's on a minutes restriction, he like takes it up a notch. He's like, oh, I'm gonna make these 20 to 22 minutes look like 40 to 42.
It felt like
he
that.
had that going. Yeah, he had that going. Every time he checked in, he's like, okay, I have to go 100% every second of the time. I'm out here because I only got 22 minutes to do this.
Well, hell, I mean, you should keep that same energy once those minutes start ticking up because they're gonna need it. I mean, clearly.
Yeah.
But yeah, it looks like you still saw Teague. You didn't see Semi, so I don't know what Brad's thinking sometimes in terms of like the who's getting what minutes. I mean, it's almost like he feels he has nobody good enough to play like more than 20 minutes.
True.
So like everyone just plays like 17, and like if you just look, it's like Rob Williams 16, Grant Williams 16, Jeff Teague 15, Pritchard 13.
Yeah.
Jimmy, this is why I'm frustrated.
Thompson
again, if it's not Teague and Grant, we do Semi and Neesmith, and then we complain about them after. We're like, why didn't they set Neesmith up for more shots? If it was the other way, John would have been losing his mind about Semi. Jimmy would have been asking about what's wrong with
Bobby,
Neesmith.
In a Grant versus Semi universe, I have very clearly taken a side.
Yeah.
Okay. There's never been Grant minutes that have made me that I've supported. Okay, they've gotten away with a couple games where he's been, like I said, the Toronto game, the last game where he was
the worst on the team, minus 18 tonight.
But I just don't see the point of him ever as
16.
As a fourth big. It's again, if his minutes are taking away from Rob or from Tice, or whatever,
right.
Like no freaking way.
Taco.
And if he's playing in a wing position when there's other bigs out there, I was like, absolutely not. He's way lower on. I do not care. I'd rather see experimental Neesmith minutes than Grant. I just don't. I don't get it. Yeah, don't get it.
Grant's contribution tonight was the finger guns on the sideline after winning.
He had that
shots.
great dance, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did like a Chaba.
He just kind of coming out there. I loved it.
The fingers
Grant
pointing.
Yes, boom, boom.
Yeah, that's it.
Grant late in the playoffs last year.
That's it. You got it, John.
He wasn't great last
shake.
year. Like, I'm not going to pretend he was like 10-8 last year and he was just this awesome rotation guy, but he was their second option at center late in the playoffs. And now he's that's Kent Bazemore right there, like in those great Warriors teams, waving the towel and doing the right dances and the timeouts. I don't know what happened there.
I
guess he just kind of got squeezed by Thompson.
The consultant. Tell us what you do here.
Grant, I'm a little bit of everything.
So that's the one tonight.
Here, okay?
That's the one tonight, rotation-wise. 16 Grant minutes, just nothing.
So I know I do this all the time because I'm obsessed and, probably the only person on the planet at this point. But I really was bummed over the Romeo thing because I know.
So,
you didn't know it was a thing until today.
Look, again, part of my Romeo thing is as much that I want to see no more Grant minutes. And I feel like if Romeo played, we would have seen fewer. I'm dying to see. To me, it's almost like the Cam Newton-Stidham thing. I don't think Stidham was necessarily better than Cam. I just wanted to see something else. I've seen enough of this. It doesn't work. That's kind of what I feel with here. Like, you've seen these guys. I don't want to necessarily see any more of them. Even if I want to see something new. So I was dying to see Romeo come in full health, working out hard, blah, blah, blah. First time fully healthy in his life. And the dude gets friggin', we don't know if he got COVID or if he was around somebody, but we were joking on the thread. It's like getting fired on your day off, getting COVID during the All-Star break.
Brad said he's not.
Friday. He's like Craig and Friday.
Yep.
It's starting to feel like
fired on. How are you going to get
The
COVID
day off.
in the All-Star break, man?
it's starting to feel like a catfish situation. Like, is Romeo even on the team? Like, are we just being catfished this whole? Yeah, has he actually reported to the team this year? Like, they just don't know where he is, and like, listen, we can't keep going with this wrist injury, like, or this hand injury, or whatever it was. Let's just go with COVID now. Let's just say he's got COVID, and then in 2 weeks, he slipped on some ice, and he's like,
he might not be real. He's a replicant.
He might not be real. As a guy who's been catfished, this feels like a catfish situation.
Right.
I mean, they need to know. That's the thing. They need that defense.
Romeo.
Those backdoor cuts, all the stuff we've been saying for the last 3 or 4 months because we have nothing else to go off of. But they need that, right? Protecting the perimeter. They did a terrible job at that against the Brooklyn Nets. So that could help.
Again, Romeo's the guy, and I'm not gonna harp too much on his defense because he did have those flashes, but people keyed in on that defense. They're like, this guy's a defender. This guy, he locks down on that end of the floor because I don't think there was too much else to say about him. Like when he played last year, it was 0-0-0 more often than not. So, right. John, I know like there's promise there, and we might as well give another guy an opportunity. But is it going to be that different from the semi results, the Grant results? I feel like it's going to be generally the same. Like I know that you got to hold out hope somewhere.
Look, the problem with Romeo offensively is going to be that he's not a knockdown shooter, so you're just not going to get that, and you're not necessarily going to get spacing. I do think, again, this is a person who is a give me the ball, put it in my hand, and let me score type of player, which would go great on a second unit, theoretically.
In Indiana.
Huh?
In Indiana, I don't know if it is in the league.
He's a top 5 high school recruit who could score at will. And again, that was his game. So it's not just Indiana. I mean, that was the thing. He was a legitimate top 3 player entering college. I mean, he was considered the real deal. A lot of people liked a lot of things about his game. He can score, he can finish with creativity. Not a knockdown shooter, but very few people are in their first couple of years. So you want to see some of that. You want to see some slide. Right now, his game was taking it to the basket. I mean, you don't have any of that right now. So yeah. I'd love to see some of that. And again, he comes in and he can play defense. You're looking for some wing depth here. My question is, if he did play, do you think Brad would have inserted him directly into the rotation tonight, sink or swim, and it would have been a little bit different? And it didn't happen, so he went with what he went with? Or you think he would have trickled him in there for like 5 minutes and that's it?
I think that's more realistic, especially when this team was struggling and defending the 3-pointer. Like I think you see him out there once Shaman hits his 4th 3-pointer. You throw him out there for a few minutes just to sort of hose him down. But yeah, for sure. I mean, look, you talk about Grant Williams and why does he play him so much? Well, I think the pick and roll defense is a big part of that, and I think if Romeo can just deliver that alone, that's a huge addition to the second unit because you already know everything else is going to be bunnies, right? The backdoor cuts. The running the open floor, like that speed and all that, agility, like that's a given. And I don't think you're necessarily going to put him in a position to say you have to score for us. So anything you get on the offensive end, it's going to be a bonus. I'm looking for pick and roll defense, and please stop this guy from making 3-pointers. Like that's his job when he comes back.
He's the Grant Williams stopper. Stop Brad from playing Grant.
Stop Brad from playing Grant. And keep yourself on the floor so Grant doesn't get back on. Something like that.
That's it.
Even if it does steal up the defense a little bit, I'll take it because right now we're looking at a defense that's top half of the league, but doesn't feel like it. It's more mediocre, and the offense is certainly bottom 10. So this team, I don't know if they're going to be able to fix their offense without a move. We just know, and Romeo's included in this, from the 4th or 5th spot on this roster when they're healthy down through 9. Nobody scores. I mean, Grant 0, Rob 2, Teague 5, Pritchard 3. And Romeo's not going to change that. So they need to become, and I thought they had the potential coming into this year, so good defensively that they can overcome that on the other side of the floor and let Tatum, Brown, and Walker's awesomeness on the offensive end carry them to the finish line. That was the formula last year. They were the best transition defense in the league. They were their top 5 defense overall. And their offense wasn't that astounding. It was like a tick above average, and it was all relying on top 4 guys. So that's what they got to get back to right now. That's the only way.
Well, Bobby,
I think,
go ahead, Jimmy.
I was just going to, real quick, I think we like the idea of Romeo. I think like kind of what Bobby says. I think we like the idea of Romeo more than we actually like Romeo. It's almost like it's like an old like pack of basketball cards or baseball cards. Like it might actually be worth more unopened because there's the chance something good is still inside, but it's probably worth more to you if you just let it be because there's a good chance that there's probably nothing inside. But the chance that there's that one valuable card in there, you might still get something for it.
Well, let me raise that. I'll see you and I'll raise you. Okay.
Okay.
Now, if in Bobby's estimation and some fans' estimation, some people's estimation, you absolutely have to make a move here, and everybody's like, "Well, just trade Romeo and Nesmith." You know what? You can't freaking trade these guys unless somebody on the planet sees them play and thinks that they can play basketball. So at the very least, the reason to play Nesmith and Romeo right now is who the hell gives a crap if you go 500 the rest of the year by playing Grant 15 minutes a game. You either have to prove that they're worthy of being assets to trade to someone or show their worth to you. Not using them at all makes no sense to me given where this team is at right now. This makes no sense.
Well, Romeo just effectively played himself or didn't play himself out of a trade deadline trade because it doesn't sound like, based on the protocols and all that, if he's out for another week or so,
we don't know.
He's going to get what?
I don't think it'll be the same as if he played a few games and did whatever.
Right, but the point is, I don't think any team's going to be like, yeah, I've seen enough. Yeah, we'll take him. You know what I mean? Like, they're not going to give anything for him. Put it that way. He's just a guy that would match his salary, and that would be giving up on him. Same with Nesmith. If you trade either of those two guys right now, you're essentially giving up on them. You're selling at probably the lowest point you probably could, and that's why another reason why I don't think Danny is going to do it because he probably thinks that he can get more for these guys if he holds on to them.
Right,
and I feel the opposite.
We were on the air there.
How?
We did our little thing on Tuesday where we talked about exactly that. That was one of my main points was you're selling at an all-time low here. If you just throw them into a deal, you've given everybody nothing. I heard
Ainge quote this earlier.
But I do want to mention quickly to everybody here. So we did go live on Tuesday. I do recognize a lot of you follow us on YouTube. I don't know if you have your notifications turned on to know when we go live, but you will always get, we will always notify you on our Twitter account. So if you don't follow us right now, give us a quick follow at Celtics CLNS, and we will always promote in advance when we're about to go live, and we'll let you know. We'll take questions, but absolutely make sure you give us a follow at Celtics CLNS, and you will be notified every time we go live for one of those one-off shows like we did on Tuesday. We're certainly going to do stuff in and around the trade deadline, so it's not just after games. Yep.
And we just hit 10K subs on CLNS.
On YouTube, yeah. Definitely subscribe to our YouTube, but follow our Twitter as well because we will tell you when we are going live. But go ahead, Bobby, you were saying?
I was saying I heard Ainge quote this morning, and now it's getting thrown around on here and everywhere, this preparation to not do anything. And the reasoning is they need to see what they have in these young players. I mean, they're just not in a position to do that. When is Romeo going to get a frontline role on this team? And, possessions on the ball and just this usage that's going to fulfill him as a player. We're going to see the same thing again and again with these players coming off the bench. And this system in particular, the way they're playing right now, they're going to stand in the corner. They're going to occasionally get a shot here or there. And that's going to be it. Like, they can go to Maine and maybe work on some stuff next year. But none of these guys are going to bloom into something special. And Nesmith, maybe because he plays more of an off-ball role, if they can continue to hit on that. But they're not. They're not playing him. They're not getting anything out of him, really. So what's this developmental curve that he's talking about with these young players?
Could you get Romeo to be as good as Markelle Fultz was this year for Orlando before he got hurt?
No, Fultz was a starting point
I
guard on the ball all the
what
time.
I'm saying is Fultz can't shoot from anywhere outside of 12 feet, okay? But I mean, he's able to dribble. He's able to get to his spots, get off his shots. And I know he has a better pedigree. But I mean, at the end of the day, I don't see any reason why you can't get some level of offensive production. I mean, what are you picking him for if after a year you're like, no, they can't play? They obviously saw something in them. And again, I'll go to year one Jaylen Brown. Year one Jaylen Brown looked like he had absolutely no chance of ever being anything other than a guy who could get some transition buckets and maybe play a little bit of defense, and that's it. Did anybody see a 40% plus three-point shooter competing in a three-point contest and a guy with a mid-range game who could improve his handle? Did anybody see that at all?
Yeah, but Brown was the number 3 overall pick.
Doesn't matter. Romeo would have been in a full healthy season, a top 5, 6, 7 pick. Again, Jaylen Brown went number 3 in a really weak draft because Ainge desperately wanted a wing, and he went there strictly because of his athleticism, okay? And he looked like nothing but an athlete and clearly evolved. You cannot give up on a player after a year. And I don't like
giving up. It's cashing in.
I don't like at all what I've seen from Romeo and Nesmith at all. I'd definitely be worried that they got 2 lemons out of those guys. But you cannot give up that fast.
This could go in the other direction where they never pan out to anything and then they just kind of fade into midair. Right now, they're in a position. If anyone,
there's plenty of those.
Well, this is why I want to see a trade. Even if you have to lump multiple of those guys together to form it into anything valuable. Do it to get something reliable, to get something that's done, that's concrete. How long do you have to wait for Romeo to become Barnes?
If you're the Celtics and you're a Celtics fan, which you are, and you follow this team as closely as you do, and you cover them professionally, and you, without any hesitation, are totally fine giving up on number 14
It's
lottery.
not giving up, though. It's cashing in.
It is giving up.
No, what I'm saying is,
you're not cashing in.
Bobby, if you are absolutely certain that these guys won't turn into anything and will not miss them at all, what team is feeling differently about them right now at this moment? Nobody. If you're fine giving them up, that means nobody wants them. So if you can't see the promise in them, neither can any other team. So why are we talking about folding them into a deal? You're giving them away for nothing if you do that.
Again, I'm perplexed by this Barnes package too because it doesn't sound right to me. But if it's Nesmith and a first, I just look at that and I say, what are you waiting for? Like Nesmith could go to Sacramento and shoot 40% and score 10 points a game. I'd still rather have Barnes. Like he's just a reliable champion rotation player. I want to see more of those on this team. I'm sick of waiting for Romeo, for Pritchard's fine right away, but what's he going to become? All these pieces, like they're so early in the development curve, if anything. How long are you going to have to wait? And how long do you have to wait to go through these frustrating stretches? And
you don't.
Romeo,
I'm saying, look, if Nesmith and a first rounder gets you Barnes, I think that's reasonable. If you're talking about just throwing all of these guys into one big bullion base and just shipping them off to whomever.
Well, what if it's Romeo and Nesmith and maybe no first for that? It's like it's all just kind of the same to me. Another first round pick down the line, especially. How long do you have to wait for that to pan out into something? And that's why I say dump the picks in the water.
I'm saying they are lottery picks not only in terms of where you drafted them, they're lottery picks in terms of you hope that one of them hits for you at some point or another. You don't have a lot of those in the chamber right now, okay? And so that's the end of it. That's the last time you're picking that high realistically. And again, who knows what goes on the rest of this year? But this is a team, the Celtics are a team that's not going to find themselves in the lottery very often. So you're out of those. Now you got to try to hit in those ranges where you're picking Grant Williams's, and that's much harder. So it's
sort of reminiscent of what San Antonio did. What extended their dynasty in the sense of getting these guys. Now, obviously, they cashed in on some really good late round picks that helped them capture championships. But I mean, I'm with John in the sense that it would be given up on some of these guys, Bobby, because a 2-year window isn't enough, especially the two seasons that we just took in. COVID-19, obviously is completely different compared to a regular 1 to 2 year stretch, and that's obviously talking just about Romeo, who's the only one that falls in that category.
This is where Ainge went wrong before, and I think he's repeating the mistake. If he's looking at these guys to become great starting rotation players, like Romeo's going to emerge into something in the starting rotation akin to Brown, as you mentioned, Like, that's just the wrong way to look at it. These guys aren't working as role players.
You're not.
And you need role players that will work and support Tatum because you have your core.
Respectfully,
The
I
funny
don't
thing
think
about Bobby-
I don't think people in the chat are understanding this conversation fully. What we're saying here is not that we're attached to Romeo and Nesmith. What we're saying is, if everyone here, including the people watching and on this panel, don't think Nesmith or Romeo are shit, then their value in a trade is zero, which means they're not going to net you much. If somebody comes calling for those guys and offers you something legitimate in return, of course you ship them. But that's not what we're saying. We're saying is right now, nobody thinks anything of these guys. So they have next to zero value right now. Zero value. So you have to build that value somehow, either for yourself or to make them assets for someone else down the road. Because right now they're not. If everyone's so ready to give up on them, that means no team wants them or is going to give you anything real for them. And again, if they do, you flip them.
The funny thing about, I guess I'll say Bobby, is he is so willing to trade a guy like Romeo or a guy like Nesmith right now because they aren't good. But once a guy is good, like Rob Williams, he doesn't want to trade him anymore when you can actually get something of value and bring in a player.
If it comes down to it, I would, but it doesn't seem like you need to. Like these. And maybe these rumors are wrong.
My point is, it's easy for you to say, oh, trade Nesmith, trade Romeo, because of where they are right now in their careers.
Yeah.
That's why you want to get rid of them, because, if you can get something for these two guys, then, yeah, you do it. Well, yeah, no kidding. But you can't. You can't get anything of value because they're so low right now. A guy like Rob Williams, as his stock rises, less and less people want to trade him
3
now
years
because
for Rob.
all of a sudden he's starting to look like a player that you can win with. So that's what happens with these assets is they're very easy to trade at this point in their career. Once they start getting good and you can actually get something for them, nobody wants to trade them anymore.
Again, that's kind of what it comes down to. People are asking, how do you know no one wants them? Because we don't want them. Like, that's the point. Like, other teams think the way you think. Like, if you are like, maybe someone will want them because they suck. And so maybe everyone's not.
Feels like the Kings want Nesmith.
It's not that they don't want them. It's just that they're not going to give up much for them. They might take them and say, hey, yeah, listen, yeah, we'll take a flyer on the 14th.
Yeah, I need to get rid of the salary anyway. Give me the best thing you got.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem like the situation, though. Like, is the Nesmith in first round?
They're also not up against it, though. Like, I don't get it. Like, he's not on an expiring deal. Like, I don't get what would be the sense of urgency for Sacramento to say, unless they're head over heels in love with Nesmith. That's the only way I could see this happening.
Yeah, so that's
coming from Boston. It could be.
The future first is enough of a incentive with Nesmith. But again, you have to be crazy about Nesmith. You have to be.
So it's possible, and you're right. The outside chance is somebody scouted, a team out there scouted and had him high on
years ago, and they loved it, right?
And we talk about this with the Patriots a ton for another cross sports analogy. This is why Belichick loves going in for those first round reclamation projects who didn't work out at their first team. Patriots might have scouted them, realized they're never going to be high enough to get those guys on the board, but they would have drafted them absolutely if they had them and think if they bring them into their system, it's fine. There might be a team there who's like, oh, yeah, I had Nesmith high, and I think the Celtics aren't using him right, and I think we could make something of it. Of course, that's
but they're
possible.
not going to have to give up a lot. That's
that guy.
The
the scout that's watching that 15-point game that he had. Yeah.
But they also know that his value is rock bottom right now because the entire world hasn't seen a freaking thing from him right now. And he's benched and he's relegated to 0 minutes a game. And that's what it is right now. Is a guy who's basically gone. He's gone. Gone from the rotation on a team that has huge holes on their bench. You're not trying to crack a front top 8 or 9 that has a lot of good players. You're competing with Grant Williams and Semi Ojeleye for minutes, and he can't get one right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because they're not playing guys to showcase them. They're playing the guys that they think can give them the chance to win on those given games.
And that's
again, they don't have developmental minutes. You can play Romeo and Maine on the ball. They and do that there. They don't have it.
The guys you're playing in place of them aren't necessarily giving you anything.
Well, it's going to be Brown, Kemba, Smart on a regular night. Maybe when there's injuries, but I don't know. There just doesn't seem to be core rotation minutes available here. The core of this team's here and it's set. For Romeo, for Again, Neesmith's so weird because he was expected to be a role guy and thrive in that position. There's really not like a position you can put him in beyond like the plays that we talk about, call it set plays and that kind of stuff to bump him up. They've done what they can there.
And again, you think teams don't see that? That's the problem.
I'm confused by that package too with Zach, and maybe Barnes is just a worse player than I think he is.
Yeah,
that could be
it. Makes
but
no sense. If you're seeing it, Bobby, that all he is a guy who right now is terrified to put the ball on the floor, is going to run into a corner and stand there, and then if you run a set play for him or two, maybe he gets off an open shot, and that's the best you're hoping for there. If that's all he's showcased, I don't know who's going to come looking for that. And Romeo literally can't get out of his own way. So who's coming for him right now?
That's not a minutes decision there. They can't control that.
I can't hear Bob.
Yeah, that's the only way I see it. If a scout was drooling over him during the draft, and they're like, look, if he was getting minutes, his value.
Maybe that's Sacramento.
This is a good way for us to steal him before he gets exposed, and his value is going to go way up. That's the only way. Guys, one of these Sacramento guys crazy about him.
Yeah, they're not practicing to this commenter here, and thanks for watching, Ramon. But this is the problem with this year, is there is no chance to develop outside of the games. It is really learn on the fly. They play too many games. They've practiced like 3 times this year, and so that's a problem. And this is another reason why Neesmith can't get into a rhythm, because he's not out there killing it in practice and getting acclimated to stuff. It's playing the game or nothing. And it's a tough environment for a rookie right now.
Yeah, for sure. But what did he do to get yanked? I don't know. You say he stood around and did nothing.
He didn't play well. That's all there is to it.
He didn't. And I was advocating for it as much as anybody. He didn't play well.
Again, this isn't Rob. Rob comes in and kills it. He did.
Yeah, but you make it
he
sound
tried
like
hard, but he
grew up a dud every single time. He had a couple of good games. I mean, what's a good game for someone like Aaron Neesmith?
That's
in this
true.
position?
That is true.
In this position for a rookie, especially of his stature, who hadn't touched a basketball or played ball in almost a year.
That's what I'm talking about. No one can get the Markelle Fultz role on this team. You get what you get. And maybe, this comes down to Steven's system and the issues we've talked about offensively a little bit this year too. It's not great for getting guys involved off the ball and in an active way. And that's what we saw again tonight to kind of wrap it. It was just stagnancy offensively and guys standing around on the perimeter, and that's what it's going to be for Romeo. That's what it's been for Neesmith. That's what it's been for Grant, frankly. So it's not a great system to jump into for these young guys either, frankly. You're going to come in and take 3 threes and you have to nail 2 every time to have a good game. I don't know. That's
right.
Not going to work well for anyone.
It's almost like Carson Edwards, like
Edwards too, yeah.
You missed it, you're back on the bench because that's all you can do.
You better hit 8 like the preseason, and that's no one does that. Who was coming to the league and been able to thrive in that role, right? With Duncan Robinson?
Brad tried. It didn't work.
Also, you mentioned Carson Edwards, and I'm glad that you did, because the difference between like Romeo Neesmith are not like Carson Edwards and Javonte Green and Semi. Like, those are players that like everyone kind of knows you're really not going to get anything for. But when you talk about Romeo and you talk about Neesmith, those are players that you still think can reach a level where they have more value than they have now. So trading them now is easy to say, just trade them because you haven't seen anything that you like. But how are you going to get anything of what you think potentially they could amount to at this point? You're not. You're going to literally get the basement level value. They're not the same as a Carson. No offense to those guys, but like they're.
Oh yeah,
you look at those players differently. So getting rid of them now is totally selling low. You might still be able to get a player for them, a player that can contribute, but not to the level that maybe you could have if you gave them a chance or you gave them a full off season. Or,
you want to pile them together as assets. I mean, I guess that's possible.
Yes,
but
they're assets right now.
My issue, this Towns down the line. We've thrown around Beal. That one's going to be a wait too, and maybe those fall in line together. These guys rise a little bit. Someone way down the line becomes available that you really want in that spot, but the flexibility isn't great either from an acquisition position. A lot of these guys are, $3 million, $1 million contracts, and they only have till September with the TPE. So again, that's a little crunch there too, time wise. You don't have time to wait with that.
Well,
they're in a tough spot.
Danny said it again today. Possibly waiting. I know we have this conversation all the time. I don't know what the issue is. Like I said, is if it's a matter of no deals being available or nobody wanting anything you have or the price being so ridiculously high. Personally, I think Danny's the reality of it is I think they might not be competitive for the more competitive guys out there. I know the latest report has, again, that Barnes is like, what was the Amick report? That something's happening, or
he says people
Good
around the
report.
league feel like
it's
Barnes
coming.
could land on the Celtics. Yeah.
Yeah.
Report.
So-
Something's happening.
Something's happening theoretically. Again, I don't know. And we're hearing Neesmith in a first. Again, I think if that happens, you walk Neesmith right out the door, hand him the first round pick and say, thank you. You know, no doubt you do that if that's real. But I don't know if that's real or not.
I guess, but then again, then you have Harrison Barnes. Great, good player, like Bobby said, and like Joseph said, former champion, all that stuff. But does he really make you now you have Harrison Barnes. Like he's on your team now for a couple seasons, and like he's not Gordon Hayward. Is he good
He's
enough
like
to get
80%.
Yeah,
good enough
he's
to-
really 85%
Is
of
he
a
good
Hayward.
enough to get you over? Fine. Is he good enough to get you past the teams that you need to get past? Because now you're
Maybe
kind
not,
of
but an asset is an asset. It's better to have him than not have him. Again, right now, you're the value of Harrison Barnes is Barnes versus nothing. You know, so like because that TPE goes away,
It's going to make you better.
and it's nothing. So he makes you better, and it's an asset, and a tradable asset, and some salary that you're
Young
holding
for
onto
3
your-
years. Yeah.
and you have for a couple of years.
if you
Not
think he's an
doing it,
asset still.
not doing it is silly because it goes poof, and you can't spend that money.
Now you're saying it's either that or nothing. So yeah, of course, if it's if
Well,
it's that or
kinda-
nothing, then sure.
That's how I
Maybe
feel
not-
like he's gonna
If
go
you-
this
much
year.
better is available in the offseason, Jimmy, I could see holding. I don't know how much better than Harrison Barnes you would get with the TPE in the offseason.
If
Personally.
you combine a player with it, you can do better.
Maybe.
And theoretically, if Neesmith or Romeo ever get playing time the rest of the season, they'll be worth more than they are now.
Maybe, and that's what I'm saying. But again, it's a dance. Who knows?
Sure. I
You
don't
lose
know.
opportunities by not
miss-
doing it because
That's
he's
that's a bird in the hand opportunity. I don't know how much you improve it. If you're talking about trading Neesmith and a pick for a for a kind of a more Midland player, then it's
I
I
don't
don't
I
see
say
that.
no to that. Yeah.
Let's raise the value of these guys and see if you develop them into assets. The downside, and I know this would be contradictory to what I've been saying, is you start playing those guys and their value dips. It is what it is, but I still think it's worth a roll of the dice at some point. Is you try to build up those assets to the point that they're actually worth something. Because if you're going for the white whale, if you're going for the Beal, like you would need to show 2 and 3 young players with promise plus picks plus a bunch.
That one's tricky to me because it's Brown. Like it either comes down to Brown or it's going to be way too complicated to do.
No, it has to be Brown.
Has to be Brown.
So what are you waiting on? If you're going to do Brown for him, you do it today versus over the offseason. Like there's not a whole lot of haggling. If they're not going to do Brown today, what makes you think they're going to do it over the offseason? I don't think things change all that much over the offseason, and you lose opportunities both internally and, Barnes is going to go. Like, Lowe said on his podcast, there's going to be quite a few teams going after him. So that's why I'm skeptical of that price too. But I'm also adamant about getting a guy of his quality. Like Ross versus Barnes, as John just alluded to, like that's a pretty substantial difference. Like a bench guy, bench guy versus a shoe-in starter. And you talk about how much different would this team be with Barnes. Like I don't think it's that Barnes comes in and scores 30 every night and just blows the world away, but condensing Grant minutes, Teague minutes, all that stuff into Barnes, like 30 minutes of Barnes, that's a big, big difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's true. It's all
And
true.
again, Barnes is going to be that expiring contract. Yeah, Barnes is eventually going to be an expiring contract. You're going to try to roll up for something else down the road anyway. So
He's only 29.
You'll get nothing for it, but sure.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's 29. He can defend the pick and roll. He can knock down threes. He can defend.
Handles the ball a little bit. Like he's kind of like Hayward.
That's a lot of what we were just complaining about with the Brooklyn Nets, right? Like that's just what happened the last couple of hours, right? Like the Celtics failed to defend the perimeter. They struggled in transition, struggled in the pick and roll defense. Guys were collecting fouls. And actually, what? To credit the Celtics, I'm surprised they weren't a foul penalty when it was still relatively early in that fourth quarter. But they hung in there. But again, the defense faltered. I think Barnes pushed you in a way better position defensively, in that front court. Versatile defender who could score as well.
Both ends, two-way player.
So that's about it. The other thing that, again, there's no really reason to talk about it, but, it sounds like Vucevic is off the table. We had a little, little kerfuffle earlier in the week regarding Jerami Grant and his availability.
What are you looking at over there? What's going on? Are they talking about him? They talking about him on TV?
No, I was just watching the halftime report. I peeked over at the game.
Jerami Grant.
Yeah, no.
He ain't available.
He's the future.
We all said that,
We none of us believe he's actually available, but certainly the Celtics want. I don't think the Celtics get. I think it's Harrison Barnes or bust at this point. Also, we're not allowed to talk about Harrison. We're not allowed to talk about Jerami Grant because we can't get fans' expectations up because that would be unfair.
We don't want to hurt anyone's feelings.
We don't want you guys to be upset, so we can't say Jerami Grant's
name. It's not going to happen either way.
Fans aren't smart enough to figure it out on their own.
Yeah. So
what can we say?
Sorry, what can we expectations up by saying Vucevic and Grant? Okay.
There's nothing we could say on any given show that would calm the group. That chat's always going to be firing, unless the team goes 72-0, as we talked about.
Responsible Celtics Twitter does not want us misleading the public. Okay.
Right. Celtics Twitter has never dreamt about a player joining the team ever. They've never once gotten their hopes up about that ever.
Yeah.
You know what though? Jerami Grant, is he available? Is he not? I don't know. I think everyone's available. Unless you're one of those players that were in the All-Star game or MVP in consideration. For the right price, a team like Detroit or any team that's really out of the playoff race, they'll pick up the phone and listen. Why wouldn't they? That's what being a GM is all about. These guys are GMs for a reason.
The last thing I'll say, and I'm going to throw this one up, one of our loyal followers here. I don't know if you can do this, but there is a world in which you shake the world up, which is you do make a trade with core pieces. And you go and you get 2 and 3 things, or there's also a world in which you replenish and enhance, kind of on the fly. You could trade something for picks. You could try to trade for a player. I guess, I think everyone always just looks at it like, which 2 or 3 guys out there could we possibly get with this very narrow package of things? But if you want to think big, you're going to have to think outside the box. It might have to hurt a little bit.
For sure.
If you're convinced that this team isn't the right team, you might have to do something. And who knows? They might be looking at it now and saying, God, I love these guys, but I don't know if this combo of Jalen, Kemba, and Jason is ever going to work. In the same way the Sixers hit that crossroads with Embiid and Simmons, who's doubting that those guys are both top talents? No one, but you're starting to get concerned about whether it works. I don't know if it's fair to say that with these guys because there's so many other deficiencies on this team. But if somebody in that front office is looking at them and saying, these are the wrong pieces, I need different core pieces, then you might make a move, and people might love a Jalen or love Jason or something like that. I'm not saying trade either of those guys, but that's the way you shake things up. You say, I'm going to trade a star for a star or a different package or do something else and move it around. Right. I think that's the only way that something dramatic happens. Other than that, I think we're stuck. We're stuck where we are here with this.
Well, there are 2 players that the Celtics drafted. They didn't draft them knowing how they would be able to play together. They drafted them because they thought they were the best players available at that time.
Right.
And depending on how their games grow and evolve will determine how well they play together. But as those things happen, you get to look around the league and say, well, we think this player might play better with Tatum or might play better with Brown. And we know that we can get him if we trade one or the other of these players, and it might work better. Same with the Hayward situation. He's really playing well with the teammates that are around him in Charlotte, and for whatever reason, aside from health, he didn't have that same effect in Boston. So there are certain players that when you put them with other players, they flourish. So it's not really a knock on the players; it's just a knock on the fit more than anything else.
But again, none of it would make sense to do now. If you were to do a shakeup, it would be in the offseason anyway. So again, I just don't see that splash everybody.
Unless it was a home run. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Not going to happen. Not in the middle of the year, you're not just going to blow up a team. It's just not going to happen. You enhance the team, you build for the stretch run. You don't make wholesale life-altering, career-altering, I mean, franchise-altering decisions in the middle of the season. So,
talking about, leading up to the All-Star break, people were talking about making these crazy trades, and I mean, the stat we saw tonight was that, Kemba, Smart, Brown, and Tatum have only played like 25 minutes together, like all season, like going into the game. So I mean, that would, it's just another reason why you don't jump to a crazy big panic move without really getting a sense of who you have. So if these players, if this core can get a couple weeks in together, or however many games they have until the deadline, then you get a better idea of where you're at.
Yeah. By the way, the people have mentioned Lonzo on this chat. Again, I said it on our special on Tuesday. Love it.
Yeah,
we love Lonzo. We're Lonzo guys.
That's your top of your list now.
It was in the theoretical Marcus for Lonzo universe. I was for Lonzo, and it's not an anti-Marcus thing. I just think with this team, and when Tatum's salary kicks in and Marcus's contract comes up, I think his time here is short. It's going to be hard to fit him in. But I would bring Lonzo in and consider paying him. And we'll see. But yeah, Bobby did quit.
We didn't bully Bobby out of here. I mean,
Bobby literally left because he had somewhere else to be. He's texting me like, "Hey, sorry guys, without unannounced."
I got that too. I got the text during the group chat, but I thought he could tell we were about to sign off.
Yeah, so we are about to sign off, but Bobby literally just left.
Oh wow, yeah, Bobby's just big timing us right now. And listen, I was watching a back our video. I always watch him back. People in the YouTube comments are like, "Oh, you guys pick on Bobby. You guys hate Bobby." It's like, no, we don't. This is a fun, healthy debate. We're all hanging out, having a good time. We don't need Bobby's bodyguards coming after us here.
No,
he's a big boy. He can stick up for himself.
Yeah, in fact, I'm Bobby's protector. Okay, so nobody out there say anything about him. Don't
exactly.
Do it. Okay,
you know what, too, Jimmy?
I jumped to his defense on Twitter.
Nobody bashes Bobby but us.
Nobody bashes Bobby but us. I jumped to his defense on Twitter because I didn't like how the conversation was going, and I'll do it again. So nobody picks on Bobby, but the people in this room.
Right.
I feel like those are the same people. The same people who are saying that are the same people that are picking on him too. Like they have their
probably
pick on Bobby. Like, come on, don't act like you haven't been there before. When you want to say something to Bobby because he's saying something. When he says something that gets under your skin. Yeah, see, there you go. Ghostface knows what I'm talking about.
I say we make Bobby we put Bobby on apology cam to start the show for bailing bailing early with not even a goodbye.
No.
No. Apology cam for him.
You gotta save those for the really good ones. I was surprised he did that, the last one. I give him props.
Yep.
No, he needed to.
Well, he did the classic fake out. He did the whole I'm not doing that tonight, and then boom.
Called in for a shift at UPS.
I stand with Bobby.
Yeah, no, the fans love Bobby. They know. As we said, we don't abuse Bobby. This is all in good fun. Bobby sadly represents Celtics at Reddit and Twitter. So he ends up being the straw man a little bit. Yeah.
And you know what? Sometimes he needs it. He needs to hear it. Brings it back down to earth a little bit.
We all have roles to play. Okay.
That's it. All
right. So thank you guys for watching again. For everybody out there, we appreciate it. We'll tell you. Oh no, it's not Manscaped.
Whoa, that was a free ad right there, man.
I know.
That was a free ad we just gave.
What was that?
Exactly.
This guy. Maragal Medical. Stem cell therapy. It's good for what ails you. Josue knows the deal. He went with Cedric Maxwell. If you go maragalmedical.com or call 978-537-0555, set up a free consult. And all you have to do is tell them Cedric Maxwell sent you. Free consult. A lot of good things that you can get done here if you're ailing. Josue, if you have anything else to add about it, let me know. Or let the people know.
You're killing it. You're crushing it. I mean, obviously, you got to mention the free consult. You don't have to put any money down. What's that?
Will they do Botox?
I don't know.
I'm interested. I'm starting to think about it. I've been on film a lot, and I'm starting to see little things. So,
are you at that point? I think you're good.
I'm getting there, dude.
Do you know how much? You know how much eye cream costs?
30's the new 20.
It's expensive, dude. You
Holy
get
crap, is it expensive?
If we can get an eye cream
I started
sponsor,
dragging a little bit.
Yeah, if we can get an eye, that'd be great if we can get an eye cream sponsor of some sort. Because we can use it, especially like on Mondays.
We have stem cell therapy, so they can inject that right into your eyes, Jimmy.
Yeah. Although
I'll get a free
especially-
consult then.
especially chronic injuries, like this is what you need right here to end that. So
Mm-hmm.
definitely hit them up, or of course you can do a virtual meeting. You don't have to go in person.
Yeah. Thank you very much. So that's it for us. We are back on Sunday.
Sunday night. God.
Killing us, right?
Dude, 8 o'clock Sunday night. Like, dude, I just want to chill, man.
Yeah.
We're going to be
That's
up
not
until 2 a.m. We're going to be up until 2 a.m. wondering why the Celtics lost to the Rockets.
Wait, what time is the game?
No,
It's
they
an
better
8
not
o'clock
lose.
game.
Is it?
I mean, it is in Houston.
Yeah, it's an 8 o'clock game.
Not cool.
No. And honestly, if they lose, I'm not doing the show. I'm not doing the show. I won't start my week off that way.
Not cool. But thank you guys again for watching. Again, subscribe, follow us, CLNS. Celtics, follow us on Instagram as well. Ton of good content. Just wait, didn't wait that out.
Another one.
Jimmy, why
he's
don't you
off.
go? I'll close this one myself.
Yeah, man. Hey, thanks for having us, bro.
All right, guys. Thank you, guys. As always, we'll see you guys on. Oh, Just Wait's back.